You're all good. Guys, Matt Haycox here, and welcome to another episode of the Matt Haycox Show. This is a live one today, live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, maybe somewhere else. I have got with me Samara Iqbal, who describes herself as the passionate divorce and family lawyer, who is coincidentally from Leeds, but also works over here in Dubai. She's just disappeared from the screen. I don't know if you press something, then you're back again. Samara has her own boutique family law practice. So we're going to be talking today about divorce, family law, wills, and all those kind of things on both sides of the globe, from the UK to the Sharia side over here in the UAE as well. So, Samara, thanks a lot for being here. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Tell me, how did you decide you wanted to be a family lawyer? I mean, did you want to be a lawyer and then decided to specialize in family, or did you always know that was your calling?
It's really weird. So I never had like a plan from a young age. You know, when you see your mum being a lawyer or your dad or someone in the family, I was never into law. I think it just kind of happened. So when I was at university, I was like, what shall I study? And then everyone was doing law. So it was really weird. So I was like, well, I'll do law. And then I did some work experience at Leeds Magistrates Court. And while I was there, I loved being in the courtroom. I loved kind of walking around, talking to the people that were in the court, and then everyone kept calling me solicitor. So I was like, oh, okay. And I was only 18, 19. So I was like, that sounds good. And then I kind of looked into it thinking, well, how do I actually qualify? And then, yeah, it just happened. I always thought I'm going to be a journalist or I'm going to be a lawyer. So it was one of them. So I think I like interacting with people, talking to them, getting to the bottom of what's going on, advising them. So I think it kind of came naturally. So yeah, just carried on, did the qualifications, and then did the training.
You seem very happy to be a divorce lawyer. All the divorce lawyers I know are very stern and aggressive.
No, well, what it is, obviously, it can be really serious. So obviously, we get different types of cases. I don't want to laugh. Obviously, I just every day for me, I love it because it's a new client, it's a new situation, and obviously, it's quite emotional. So I start crying sometimes because I speak to a father or a mother or a husband and wife, and the situation's intense. Obviously, situations like when they're just in agreement or it's a prenuptial agreement or it's quite amicable, that's fine. But we get really stressful things as well, like child abduction. We get divorces that are messy. They don't agree. It's intense. You get constant emails. The other side's quite aggressive as well. And it is stressful. We have to deal with so much. But yeah, I'm not. It's just I'm quite passionate about it. So I think I love to meet people. I like to connect with them, and I like to know that they need to know that I'm on their side. I'm here to help them, but also dealing with expats, especially, we have to plan things for them and sort out lots of different things. So we have to wear quite a lot of hats trying to sort out what's the best thing for them.
So look, there's a few different things you've said there that I could kind of go down avenues of conversation, but I guess a couple of top level things that I want to try and understand first. And I know you operate in both the UAE and the UK, so you can maybe answer these in different ways, or it might not be the same in both cases. One of the things I can never get my head around, and I know people I think I probably say this flippantly, but I mean, tell me, what are the actual stats on divorces now? Because I think it's something like more than 50% of marriages end in divorce.
No, actually. So recently, I've just seen in the news that it's actually gone down in the UK. I'm not sure about the UAE. I think even in the UAE, I read something that the local divorces have gone down as well. So I think it's not as high as before.
So,
Um,
so what is the UK number?
the UK number, you put me on the spot. I just saw an article the other day. They were putting it on the news. It's gone down to a low, but not really low, but it's definitely gone lower since last year. So I can Google it, but I don't know the actual percentage.
I
But
tell you what, I'm going to Google it while we're talking. So, percentage of UK marriages that end in divorce. 42%.
it's gone down.
42%. So it's gone down. Okay, but I mean, it's still, for me, it's a frighteningly high number. When coupled with what I think is still, I mean, I say unfair, that might be the wrong word, and I guess it depends on which side of the table you sat on. But for a person who has money, to marry somebody who hasn't got money, knowing that the stats are not really in your favour? Do you think that the law has not caught up with the reality of where marriage is today?
I think the law's trying to catch up. So obviously with the UK, they have changed things very, last year and a half. So the UK has basically amended things a lot by doing the no fault system, making it easier instead of making that all messy. So before with the UK, what would happen is if a husband filed and he put loads of reasons down, I want to divorce her because she's this, the wife could defend it. The wife could, go back and say, well, actually, I want to divorce him as well because he did this. And then you just get in England, you would just get stuck on that instead of dealing with the kids and the financial side. So I think the UK is definitely catching. The UAE has really progressed, especially like I said, in the last year or so, they've completely, for expats, non-Muslims, they've abolished Sharia law. So now the UAE is definitely on the right path in terms of making sure that expats, and obviously they're attracting more expats to come and live there, that you won't be bound by Sharia law. You now have your own law where you can have joint custody, you can have agreements, you can have prenuptial agreements to protect your assets. So I think the UAE definitely has progressed a lot. I think the UK probably is still a little bit behind. In terms of people getting married, like you said, they can't help it. They want to have kids, they want to have a family, they want to be married before they do that. A lot of them do still. A lot of them that move to the UAE still like to be married. They don't want to have kids. Even though I know the laws have changed, they still would like to be married. So I'm thinking obviously people can't help but fall in love, and expectations of family, cultural expectations, people still want to be married when they start that family. So I think, or if the girlfriend gets pregnant, they're like, right, we need to get married. So I think, unfortunately, if someone has money, someone doesn't have money, they still they want to tie the knot. And that's why we come on board and we get lots of inquiries now for prenuptial agreements. So it's really
So, talk to me about a prenup, because I think it's something that most people have heard of. And again, I may be wildly mistaken here, but my understanding of prenups is that unless you document them in a way that would basically be not too dissimilar from what you would get in a divorce anyway, then they don't really hold water. So arbitrary numbers. Let's say a guy's worth 10 million quid, and he drafts a prenup to say, when we get divorced, I'll give you 100 grand.
mhm.
That because those figures are so disproportionate to what you would get if you got divorced anyway, that prenup wouldn't be worth the paper it's written on. Am I
Yeah,
off the mark there?
not off the mark. So it's different in the UAE, it's different in the UK. So obviously when we're talking to a couple here in the UK, what happens is they're not binding. That means better to have one as a precaution, and the court will look at it, and they are, after the famous case, they have considered it, but they're not bound by it, which means that if a judge wants to ignore it, he can do, or she can do. So that's the issue. So we have to tell clients, look, it's good to have one because both of you have got an agreement and both of you have put everything down. You should stick to it. But should your wife or husband want to go against it, then essentially they can, and a court can still consider this document. But normally with the UK side, there should be full financial disclosure of husband and wife when signing one. So I've got clients now, for example, I've got there's a client who's Canadian, and he wrote one saying he wouldn't take anything from his wife's assets. And his Canadian lawyers told him, well, that stands here in Canada. So obviously Canada is different as well. With the UAE prenuptial agreements, we're doing quite a lot with the Abu Dhabi Civil Court, and the law here is different. It's not binding. It is binding. So it's different in UAE. So if you file one and then you get a divorce, the court will hold you up to that agreement to say, well, actually, you said on divorce you would only give this, and you wouldn't take from that property. You would give this much maintenance. You would do that. And then so if that other husband or wife tries to do something, they will hold you accountable to that agreement. The UK still is not 100%, but it's good to have one.
And does it depend as well, or can you plan where to get married? To make the situation better. I'm getting some free legal advice off you here. So let's have a real life context here. So I'm English, Dubai resident. Oh, you've gone quiet. I can't hear you. can't. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Say something. No. Oh, we're just getting to the good bit. Sorry, guys. Minor technical issue. Remove that. Add back. No, I can't hear you, Samara. I can see you. You can hear me? No, I can't. I can see you talking, but I can't hear you. Sorry, guys. Forgive us. Since we're getting to the crucial part of my future divorce plans. Do you want to maybe log out and log back in again? I'll do a GMTV and hold the live show while we're waiting for our guest to come back after technical difficulties. Yeah, if you just joined us on any of these live platforms, we just recorded an episode of the Matt Haycox Show. I've got Samara Iqbal with us, who is a UK and UAE family lawyer.
You see
there
me?
You go. I can see you. I can hear you. Perfect. Back in the game.
Something happened on my phone. It just cut off.
Don't worry. So what I was saying was, I was going to give you some. I was going to give you some specific context of what works in different countries and stuff. And so let's say I'm English, resident now in the UAE. My girlfriend is Finnish, also resident in the UAE. Is there a way that we could fulfill her marital dreams whilst protecting my financial necessities? And can we marry in a particular country and have the marriage binding in that country, but bypass elsewhere, so she couldn't then come after me under UK law or something else?
Okay, so if you were to come to me and say that, I say you should have, depending where your assets are, to be honest. So if you've got quite a lot going on back in the UK, the prenuptial agreement obviously would need to also be mirrored in different jurisdictions as well. So you would be advised to do one in the UAE as well. So if you've got anything in your name or a bank account, or you've got, you might end up buying something with your girlfriend. So I would say get married in Abu Dhabi Civil Court, because it's fast, it's good. You can register your prenuptial agreement there, so it'll cover anything in the UAE. So that's done there. And then separately, because you've got things in the UK, I would have a separate UK prenuptial agreement or postnuptial agreement as well, file there. It could be mirrored from the one in the UAE, or it could be a separate one. And that would require both of you to get lawyers separately and do financial disclosure and make sure that everything is clear. She knows what she's signing. It was not forced. It wasn't under any kind of, you weren't putting pressure on her to sign anything. And likewise, you would have a lawyer as well. You'd sign that off. So the court needs to see things like that both parties, when they signed this, it wasn't husband who had more money and paid for the lawyer that was making his girlfriend sign this, or wife to be. And I would advise that. So I get clients now who say, well, I've got assets in Kuwait, I've got assets in India, I've got assets in England, I've also got something in Bahrain, and they're getting married, or they've got someone pregnant and they have to get married. So we say, right, do it in Abu Dhabi, cover that here, potentially give me that prenuptial agreement. I will get a lawyer in Kuwait to violate there and mirror it. We will do something in the UK, and India, I'll look into what we can do in India. Hang on, India doesn't do prenuptial agreements. Right, okay, so we can't do one there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right, this
Sure, but then I guess if you've got lots of assets and you're wanting to get very technical or clever, then you can mirror those prenups. But if the prenups aren't valid in the different countries, you may want to then move the assets from. So just using my example, so I could do a UAE prenup, which will protect me with my UAE assets, but my UK assets would still be subject to having that prenup ignored back in the UK.
So your UAE prenup, if she wanted to, what she could do is get an enforcement application done, for example, at the Abu Dhabi court, and then
I hope she's not watching this live.
She could take that order, go to a UK lawyer. Look, I've not in England. He's got a lot of money here. he is a millionaire. I want some things from him in the UK. They'll say, show us your prenuptial agreement from Abu Dhabi. Right, it was done properly. When you advised, did you have a lawyer? Did you sign it? Then you have to get an order from an enforcement application done or an execution file opened at the Abu Dhabi Civil Court. They kind of approve it. That document is then legalized, attested, translated into English, taken to an English court, and an application potentially could be made at the court there for financial relief, and under the Matrimonial Act. So you could then potentially be pursued, even if there's no prenuptial agreement in England, you could be pursued for an application for financial remedy by your wife, sat in the UAE, paying a lawyer in the UK who would try and say, right, for example, Matt's got all of this. They had this agreement just for there. He's now got this enforced. She wants to enforce it in the UK. Will you allow it? And literally, they'll have to. A court will then give permission whether or not they would accept it. Certain criteria has to be fulfilled, and then permission has to be given for that person to pursue it. But there has to be things in the UK, like you have got property here, you are domiciled in the UK, you're from England, even though you've been living, just say 50 years in the UAE. Lots of things have to be ticked, and they have to see what you've got in your name. If you've got nothing here, why would they give you permission? They'd be like, well, he's got nothing here, you don't need to entertain it here. But if you have, you've got properties, you've got assets, you've got companies, she has a right as a spouse, even though you've divorced her, just stay in Dubai, she has a right to potentially come down and try. However, they could say, because the law is changing and there has been recent case law, they could say, well, hang on, you've sought a remedy in the UAE court. Abu Dhabi Civil Court is now abolished. There's no Sharia law. You've got a good remedy there. You've had a fair settlement there. Why do you need to come here? Do you understand? And that was a recent case. Yeah, that happened. So I wouldn't know now, because judges are now picking up what's going on in the UAE, getting expert opinions from lawyers there, saying, well, wife's had a fair financial statement. She had a prenuptial agreement there. Why is she now chasing Matt in England for all this stuff? Like, they would look into it, and they would potentially, there'd be a decision made, but she definitely can try.
So tell me, do you sorry, do you find it's all that talk of divorce? It's giving me a dodgy ticker. Do you find that because you're a woman, you tend to represent more ladies in divorces than men, or does that not really come into play? I mean, do women tend to come and find a women lawyer and think they'll sympathise with them more?
Be surprised, men actually want women as well, a lot more than just the woman lawyer. So women are like women because they probably get that emotional connection more. So we can be like, right, I can help you and things like that. But men, you'd be surprised. Lots of our clients are dads, and fathers and husbands who are stuck. So they some men do prefer men, but a lot of them do prefer women as well. And to be honest, I mean, there's males that are family lawyers as well, but a lot of them are generally female. But yeah, loads of male clients from the UAE, from everywhere. Lots of fathers, wives being difficult, exes being difficult, but the kids have to go to court, represent them. Lots of child abductions, ones where fathers contact us saying, she's just taken my child, left UAE, said she was going to visit her parents, not come back. What do I do? So we get everything. But you'd be surprised, lots of men do want female lawyers, and we're happy to have male and female, whichever it is.
And how much does it come into play in family law and in divorce law? Just, I guess, common sense arbitration. So, take. I mean, I spend most of my weeks dealing with some kind of litigation. Whether that's someone we're fighting with, or a borrower's not paying us, and I mean, no matter how right you are in a position, or no matter how much the law's on your side, most of the time, well, it's not most, certainly a lot of the time, it just makes sense to sit down, take a breath, and say, you know what, I may be doing myself short on the money here, but I don't need to tie myself up for the next 2 years arguing, losing headspace. I need to take a sensible view. And, if you've got two sensible people on each side, hopefully you can do a deal. But I would imagine that divorce situations, and certainly what I see with a lot of my friends, because it's something that's so emotionally charged, common sense goes out the window with so many people. And I know, and I'm not picking a male or female side here. It's just, I guess I tend to know more male friends who've got divorced with grumpy wives, and female friends who've got divorced with grumpy husbands. But so many times I hear the other party going, it's not about the money. I just want to make sure he's got nothing, and we'll lose it all on legal fees rather than let him take anything off with his new woman. I mean, how much do you just have to sit people down and talk common sense and just say, listen, this is not in anyone's best interest here?
It's really, really shocking what you've said, because there's lots of triggers for people. So, we get men coming saying, look, I've had a new baby with my new partner. Now she's taking me back to court. I've had this has happened. There was an incident here. I've reduced the child maintenance. That's kicked her off. She's started doing other stuff. She's reporting me to the police. So you get different triggers for different people. People do get emotional. Obviously, it's an emotional journey. One party may have been cheated on, they're very upset, and that other person happily, with the new partner, going on holiday, spending money, and they're like, well, hang on, I'm left here with the kids, you cheated on me, I've got nothing, everything's in your name. And obviously there's a battle, of ego as well. So you get people literally, there's nothing that much to fight about, but it's just literally that it's the ego, because they're really upset as well, because it's like, hang on, how could he or she do this to me? I was always there, I did this. And a lot of it comes down to, yes, we do try and talk to clients as best as we can. And a lot of it is, let's advise our client that, look, if we push this, we're not going to get the result we want, and we're just going to spend more money, more time, and it's not going to get us anywhere closer to what we actually want to be. So let's try and do this. Let's maybe agree on these terms. This would be better, and trying to get them just to see it from our perspective. But we can't control people. So obviously everybody has their own journey. Some people just can't agree. They can't talk to each other. And us lawyers are going back and forth, correspondence, trying to reach an agreement. Well, some couples, they're great. They kind of do most themselves. They agree. They have lots of conversations. They're co-parenting really well. And they just come and say to us, look, file the divorce, file the agreement. We've just got a couple of points we don't agree on, but we'll sort it out. Actually, can you refer us to a good mediator? We want to try and see if we can sort this out. And it's brilliant. So we get two different extremes. We get like the couple that's fine. We're going to divorce. We've been together. It's fine. He's going to keep that. I'll keep this. We'll split this. We'll split that. I'll pay that. Like for example, in the UAE, we'll cover the school fees together. He's going to cover the medical insurance. The nanny will be paid for. Trips back home, we'll both agree he can take the child. I will as well. Brilliant. But some, no, it's very difficult. There's lots of things that are hidden. They don't know about where things are, especially if it's in different jurisdictions, especially with expats, because everyone's come from somewhere where they've maybe got things, and then they're living in the UAE where maybe they have a good salary and they have money coming in as well, and then maybe they've invested somewhere else. Other side may not know, husband and wife both. And it's hard and it's tricky, because obviously we try our best to try to see if we can reach an agreement without it becoming stressful, without it becoming difficult. But we do get unreasonable people that are asking for extreme amounts of money, and you're like, well, where did you get those figures from? You want
to. And when you've got two people who are so diametrically opposed, and no mediation in the world is going to bring them any closer. I mean, how do you move forward from that? Is the only thing you have to do to effectively then file to go to court to have a judge make a decision? I guess it's like a commercial litigation, where if you can't mediate, you just got to put your hands up and say, right, someone's got to serve, and let's roll the dice.
So how it works is, sometimes what we do, so we get a new client and he or she says, right, where we want to, we've been separated for a long time. We need to agree. We've got all these things to sort out. What we like to do is initially, as lawyers, is correspondence. So we write a letter. We keep the tone quite amicable. Look, we see that you've been separated for a while. There's obviously quite a lot going on in terms of assets that need to be agreed on. This is the current situation. This is a potential proposal. And then also we'll just say, can we do some disclosure? Can we try and reach an agreement? And then they might get a lawyer as well and say, well, what is your agreement? What are you proposing? And then we start doing all of that. And then we try to do that as much as we can in the best way possible. But obviously, if we've got another lawyer on the other side who is pushing them, and sometimes they can be ill-advised as well, it can then come back and it's quite a fiery letter. It's quite an aggressive letter, and we're like, oh, okay, we didn't expect that. And I've had one recently where he came to me and said, oh, everything's agreed. I'm gonna let her keep her property. I've got nothing. I've just got a higher salary, and just file the consent order. Wrote to her. She got a lawyer, and now she wants this. She wants that. So we said to him, we said, well, it's not agreed because they've come back with all these other points. And apparently you've got hidden assets. He was like, what? So do you understand? So we've had to go back and sort this out. And I said to him, look, it's fine, we'll deal with it, but it is quite aggressive. And maybe it is the lawyer pushing it as well. So we have to do our best to see what we can do between correspondence. We try to keep the tone as the client wants. So if the client wants us to be a bit harsher, we do that. If the client wants it to be very amicable, we say, look, he hopes to resolve this by way of mediation if possible, if not by an agreement. He wants to be in the children's lives. He wants to make sure this happens. All these things we put in. If we see we're not getting there, then we have to refer for mediation before court. It's mandatory in the UK. In the UAE, it's not, but in the UAE, we still try and do that. So in the UK, we definitely have to do it because the mediator signs off a form, and that form goes to a children court, a financial court. The judge needs to see that you've tried everything before you've come here and before you waste our time. So that's.
Tell me your craziest divorce story. I know you've done some big numbers and some high profile people. So tell me your craziest story. I don't know, hidden assets or appearing children or something.
Oh no, there's loads. There is, there's a lot of cases. I mean, where problem is because children and family and financial all private. So if I kind of give details of a case, what might happen is a client of mine who was
They can
previously
work out who it is.
referring to me. So most of it is lots of assets in different jurisdictions and one person concealing stuff essentially, and then us having to make investigations in that country, finding evidence of those assets, revealing it to the court, and then that person saying, oh, okay, yeah, no, well, that is mine. It's like, okay, lots of different cases. We had one which did go to the Supreme Court. That is a named case, and that was quite interesting. So they were in Dubai, but the British wife, first wife, filed a case, and that was in the UK. That was a very big case. It got to the Supreme Court, and that was interesting because the husband, or the ex-husband, ended up with dementia, and he couldn't remember anything. So his new wife was the one who was our client. She was filing everything, and was a litigant in person. So we were dealing with that for a long time. And it was crazy. So, the things that we had to go through to deal with that case, and there was lots of assets they were referring to, which she didn't have a clue and he couldn't remember. So,
that's what marriage does to you. It gives you dementia.
Then during proceedings, he passed away. So
Really?
it became like, that's why it went to the Supreme Court. So it's crazy.
So tell me what happens in that situation then? If he's passed away before the divorce has happened, does the current the current
divorce was already done? So his divorce, she was making an application saying from the first marriage, I didn't get a fair settlement. You know what I said? So she brought him back to, okay. So divorce, he'd remarried with kids. So this was post-divorce. So it was like after divorce kind of was done. It was getting her, she was still claiming her financial rights and saying that he has got money. He couldn't remember. The new wife was like, actually, we don't have anything. So it was a crazy case. So obviously, because when people marry, they could have loads of money together, but then if he's moved on, it's years later and he's married, maybe he's not got that money anymore. So that was this kind of case. So it was crazy because he had loads of money with this first wife, moved on, and then the new wife was saying he doesn't remember, and I don't know about all these things you're saying. It's crazy.
Have you ever known anyone fake their own death to avoid a divorce, avoid the missus?
And then he passed away, and then the whole case changed because it became like, well, does it still come under the family law? Does it go into inheritance? It should go into succession now. So the whole case just changed. And that was really interesting. So I dealt with that for about 2 years. And then we've just had other cases where, they have got assets and then there's cheating involved. People get private investigators. We see all the evidence. We're like, oh gosh, there's,
Does cheating cost you more in a divorce, or does it not make any difference?
I don't know. I think everyone's got a different perspective. So if men cheat, lots of men kind of just own up to it and say, look, I did it, hands up. I caused the marriage breakdown. She can have whatever she wants. She can have the house. Lots of men feel guilty as well. And they say, look, let's just give her what she wants. She looks after the kids. And then I'm now with my new girlfriend. And they try their best to keep it amicable. But I think it does, because if the wife has been cheated on, she's obviously quite aggrieved and she's emotional about it. And and especially if he doesn't want to make the marriage work and he's moved on. So I think it does probably end up costing more, because then the man has to try and make up for it in a way by maybe offering more or trying to settle it more without it kind of getting really messy. Because what happens is, if you end up going to court and in litigation, you will end up paying thousands more, where you could just potentially agree and just give that extra money. But it just depends what's involved, Matt. So every situation is completely different. I always try to seek an agreement as much as I can, whether it's male or female. But if obviously tensions are high, lots at stake, lots of issues going on, we're not seeing eye to eye, then obviously we have to end up at court and we have to kind of deal with a battle at court, basically. And it's, and that is not ideal, because somebody else can make a decision that you might not be 100% happy with. And I always say in a family case, there's no winner or loser. It's always just trying to get the best outcome you can for your client in that difficult situation that they're going through. And lots of aspects are involved. So people say, "Oh, you're just a divorce lawyer." No, it's divorce is what's going on, but it's everything surrounding it. So it's the children, it's money, it's something else, it's other issues going on. Then there's things like, "Oh, well, he's saying this to the children. Can you stop him? She's doing this. She's not letting me see them." There's so much, and it becomes really encompassing. And that person is just so stressed, going through such a hard time in their life. And where that main person that they're connecting to, they're talking to, they're WhatsApping, they're calling, "Help me. This has happened today. The police came to my house today. Hang on, he sent me an email. This happened with the kids. What do I do?" And we're constantly having to just guide them as much as we can with, just to help them in that situation. So yeah, cheating does probably make it worse. But I think divorces, I just think it makes tensions higher. It just makes it more higher, more stressful.
And tell me, last question on divorce, and we'll have a chat about wills. Back over to the UAE, you've got your 7 wives. I mean, are there any different rules, or can each of them effectively go for, if we're talking UK 50% or something? I mean, could each of them go for a big chunk of the husband's money? Because I mean, if they start dropping like dominoes, it's going to get very expensive, isn't it?
Are we talking about Muslim men?
Yes.
Yeah. So Muslim men are allowed up to 4 wives, not 7.
Is it 4? So I've been greedy. Sorry.
So if a Muslim man has 4 wives, essentially Muslim couples come under Sharia, so not expats won't. So what happens is they all potentially could make a claim. So they could, I think it's up to a certain, I think they have their own rules in terms of that. So yeah, so essentially he has to give them all maintenance. It's mandatory, especially if he's got kids. So if he's got kids with each wife, he has to make sure that that child is looked after, that child, the schooling, the healthcare, etc. So that's mandatory. He should be providing for those kids. And usually they don't really have spousal maintenance, but they do make sure that the women have some kind of accommodation, they're looked after, and are able to look after the kids. And he's the guardian, so he's the main person taking care of everything. And also he needs to give them like the old term is dowry, but it's like a marriage payment. So then when the divorce is done, he has to pay them like a lump sum, ideally just like a kind of goodwill lump sum, saying there you go, and then he just takes care of the kids. But generally, yeah, the rules are very, very different. But yeah, if he's got 4 wives, then obviously he's got to make sure he's got a lot of money as well, because if each one's claiming something, it's hard, it's stressful as well. Yeah.
So let's talk about wills. I mean, it's something that you always hear about. I think people, so many people haven't got them. I think people think, "Oh, I don't have much money. There's probably no point in me having a will." I mean, is a will something that everybody should have? No matter how little money you've got.
I think a will's important. A lot of people will say, "Oh, why do I need a will? I don't really have anything at the moment." But I think a will is important because if you don't have one in the UK, for example, it's very different. It just goes as per the law. So if you've got a wife or a husband, it goes to them. Then it goes to your children. If you've got no kids, then parents. They just look and look until they find someone. I think in the UAE, it's brilliant that you can now have a will registered. So there's, the Dubai court can do wills, the DIFC court does them, the Abu Dhabi civil court does them for expats. So even if you've got a bank account with your salary going in, you should still have a will, because that will essentially, if something happens to you tomorrow in Dubai or Abu Dhabi and your family is in the UK, for example, or in the States, they can essentially have that will. Look, there's lots of money, for example, sat in that bank account. There might even be a property. They can then instruct a local lawyer in the UAE to then do the probate as per that person's will. So that will says, I want this money to go to my wife or my kids or to my parents or to a charity or to my pet. Whatever they want will be in that will. That'll be accepted. And then they would get the probate certificate from the UAE courts as a non-Muslim. And that would be then sent to be dealt with. So they can then instruct that pays out that money to that person, the beneficiary, on the will.
And are wills black and white, like a will's fact, not as in, I guess, not like a prenup maybe that may be challenged or not adhered to by a judge. I mean, if I was married and had 2 or 3 kids and I decide I hate the missus, hate the kids, I'm going to give every penny to put it in trust to my favourite cat. I mean, if I want to do that, can that be challenged by my disgruntled family?
Anything can be challenged, whether it's UAE, UK, anywhere. I think everybody's got an option to try and challenge whether or not. I don't think many wills have been challenged in the UAE. I think a lot of them are accepted. So I don't know much about that. But in the UK, obviously, people always try to challenge things. They instruct a lawyer. They try to say, actually, this person, last minute before his death changed his will. It's not correct. This actually was going on, but it's quite specific rules they've got in the UK. But people do bring challenges. Just go to court. A court looks at all the evidence, looks at that intention, looks at if there was health issues before this person was there some duress. But UAE at the moment, to be honest, I'm not sure if anything's been challenged, but maybe it has been, with the local courts. I'm not sure. I've not really dealt with a will challenge.
So when are you going to get moved over to the UAE then?
So very soon, yeah. So we're gonna just making arrangements to sort things out, because there's just so much going on, and I need to kind of be there, kind of be dealing with things full time. So at the moment, I'm going a lot of back and forth. It just makes more sense. And UAE is a brilliant place to live, and that you live there. I've lived there
It's definitely better than Leeds.
Yeah, Leeds and Manchester, rainy Manchester. So I definitely, do want to kind of just, have a presence there, make sure I'm able to help clients there, as much as I can, because everybody's in tricky situations. Some are straightforward, and just make sure that I'm able to assist clients and, just do my best with, with the expertise that I've got. And, I'm here to stay, and I want to make sure that I'm able to help as many people as I can with the experience and the expertise that I've got. And I think the UAE, like yourself, it's a nice place. It's great. Everybody comes to Dubai. You probably see more people in Dubai than you see in England. So it's a good thing, good place. And I've lived there before, so I know it quite well. So yeah, definitely.
Good. Well, listen, Samara, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Pleasure, slightly scary, all this divorce talk. But listen, for anyone who wants to contact you on either side of the world, just give yourself a little shout out. Tell us where you can find you, find the practice, and how they can get in touch when they've been caught with the pants down.
So we've got a website called aramaslaw.com and aramaslawexpat.com. So we've got 2 sites, one for the UK and one for especially the international clients, the UAE clients. I am on Instagram, so it's samara.expatLawyer. So you can follow me on there, contact me, you can DM me. I'm on TikTok as well, same name. Also, people just ring me, message me, so they can contact me on my mobile. 07391624008. I'm really easy to talk to. Drop me a message, tell me if you need some advice. I'm happy to have a chat, free initial chat with someone, see what's going on. And like I said, we've got a team in the UAE. I'm going to be there soon. So I'm happy to help, whoever I can. But yeah, definitely. And the questions are really good, Matt.
Thank you. all these years of worrying about it, I've finally been able to get it all off my chest. But listen, thanks a lot, Samara. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Great to meet you as well. Take care. Take care. Bye.
Don't go.